Welcome back to a very special edition of Abraham's Tent. Abraham set up his tent in a thoroughfare where people could come in, and he always had guests, even when he was ill after the circumcision. Three wandering, looking like people came, and he tended to them. This week I have no guests, because for this week I'm in a COVID ward. My name is Abraham, and this is my tent. In the portion this week, Jacob divides his household and moves all of his things across the river, and he's in a place of darkness, and he has to fight Esau, his brother. He doesn't want to be killed. He doesn't want to kill. He's in a place of darkness. He doesn't want to fight. He's not a fighter. Esau was the fighter. So it's the middle of the night, and he climbs back across the river. He leaves all of his things on the other side, and he goes to a private, dark place. And there he's looking for pachim ketanim, small vessels that were left there. I'll tell you a feeling that I have from this week and what Jacob is looking for. I think those little vessels may have been filled with perseverance and courage and faith and strength and honesty and integrity. Because when it's dark, when things aren't going the way you hoped, and you're alone, and you're feeling vulnerable, it's hard. It's hard to find God. It's hard to pray. It's hard to know God is there. God helped Jacob many times before. He saved him from Lavan. He built him a beautiful family. Maybe I've already used up, Jacob thought. And some of us might think, all of my points, all of my good deeds, all of my promises. What will I do now? And among the sages, there are some that say that Jacob thought of running away again. He was alone in the darkness. And when you're alone and when you're hurting, it's hard to blame anyone for doing something that's not exactly right. But the lesson Jacob taught was that even in those darkest moments of life, when you're hurting and when you're vulnerable and when you're alone and when you're in pain, when you're unsure, that's where God is. It's a fight. He wrestles with the angel. He wrestles with himself. He wrestles all night long until the morning. God elevates him and blesses him and promises him success and lifts him up and says, from here on, you'll be not only Jacob, who got the birthright through trickery, you'll be Israel, who was lifted up among people and among God. The children of Israel are the Jewish people. Each one of us has the capacity in the darkness to find inner strength and courage by virtue of being a child of Israel, of Joseph, of Jacob. And when we hold on to that courage, and that faith in God, and that trust in God, and that bitachon in God, that emunah in God, and even when we go through a hard time, a sad time, a dark time, we do it with God. God promises to lift us, to hold us close, and to help us through any situation that's there, because he put that situation there for us to grow from. Al tira avdi Yaakov, fear not, my son Jacob. Fear not, my people Israel. God promises. I'm with you. I love you. Choose me even when it's hard. And that's when you'll see the greatest bonds and connections with the Almighty. Let's do a short meditation. Breathe in. and breathe out. Close your eyes. Breathe in and breathe out. Feel the cool air as it enters your nostrils and the warmer air as it exits your nostrils. In your mind's eye, imagine some period, some issue of darkness, of loneliness, of pain, of vulnerability. Maybe you're waiting for your beloved match. It's not there yet. Maybe someone is sick. Maybe some dream is shattered. Maybe your finances are not what you hoped or dreamed or imagined they would ever be. Maybe there's a need, a heavy weight on your chest that's bothering you. When you go to the synagogue on Rosh Hashanah, and you hear the shofar, you say to God, I want to have a great year, I want to be great, New Year resolution. Everyone does it. But when you're home alone, vulnerable, in pain, struggling with a real life situation, it's a lot harder to say, I love you, God, and I want to make a resolution to you. But at that exact moment is what it's most important. So think of holding God's hand. Al tira abdi Yaakov. Don't fear, my son Jacob. I'm with you, says the Lord. Hold my hand and we'll get through whatever this tough time is. I'll lift you up. Like on the wings of an eagle. I'll lift you above whatever is bothering you. Together we can pass it through. Together we can overcome it. And when you connect to God during the times of trouble, that connection is so strong, so deep, that you recognize God is hugging you and holding you. And you say, if God is with me, what shall I fear? And God lifts you up among men and among God, makes you divine, blesses you with success, and helps you through even the tough times that you have to do. But you don't do them alone. You do them with God. Imagine in your mind's eye that same struggle, but that God is holding your hand. God is protecting you. God's got your back. God's your co-pilot. God's carrying you through the sand. In his footsteps, he's lifting you up to be Israel, elevated among men and even among the divine. So close to God, even closer than the angels. The reward for accepting God during times of vulnerability and darkness and hurt. I wish you all that your hurts quickly pass, your pains quickly lighten, and that you take comfort in the sheltering arms of God, specifically during the dark times, and that after that, all your times are good. All your times are bright and light. And God blesses you and lifts you and elevates you and surrounds you with his goodness of his face, the shine of goodness and blessing and peace and happiness and health and goodness for all of Israel, for all mankind. And we say, Amen. Breathe in and breathe out. Breathe in and breathe out. Feel the cool air as it enters your nostrils and the warm air as it exits. Feel your fingers and shake them and your toes. And when you're ready, you may open your eyes. May everyone have a great week. I look forward to being back in Abraham's tent next week to talk to you again, healthy and sound and blessed. I wish you all well. Shabbat Shalom.